Hello and welcome to Team Liquid's strategy guide series for Nerub-ar Palace. I'm Eiya, and today I'm presenting Telegon's breakdown of the mechanics and strategy for heroic Rasha'nan. This boss's construction is defined by a main phase that is periodically interrupted by the boss flying to a different part of the arena and returning to her main rotation of abilities after her cast is kicked. If you are familiar with the new dungeon, the Dawnbreaker, Rasha'nan makes her debut as the final boss in that instance. You bring her to 60% health there, and that is why she begins this encounter with reduced health. This boss has a mechanic archetype new to World of Warcraft in Rolling Acid, which displays a line on the player that is perpendicular to the boss front-facing plane. This line will be filled in on either the player's left or right to indicate which direction the resulting wave will propagate. This mechanic is easy to mess up if you're not paying close attention to the directional indicator, but can be experienced before entering the raid by completing the aforementioned dungeon. In the raid fight, there are two players targeted by Rolling Acid, and as a result, one player's indicator will show left and the other will show right. It's important that each player moves to the side that aligns with the direction their wave will propagate to create a safe spot in the middle where the rest of your raid can stand safely. 4 players will be targeted with spinneret strands, which, after a short debuff, creates a circle of sticky webs beneath the player and tethers them to its center. Moving outside this area breaks the tether and incurs a small amount of raid damage. Players should break their tethers as quickly as possible with current tuning. Note that any players within the initial impact radius of the players targeted with spinneret strands will also become tethered on heroic difficulty and higher. The waves created by Rolling Acid clear any sticky webs left behind the spinneret strands and replace them with much smaller acid pools that last for 90 seconds. As a result, players targeted with spinneret strands will want to move away from the raid, either to the back or to the front left and front right of the boss's relative perspective to reduce the amount of play space consumed by sticky webs and post-Rolling Acid pools. On Heroic, we get to deal with Webreev, which targets a player with a soak circle similar to the Eye of the Jailer. This 8-yard radius soak splits a massive amount of damage between the soaking players, and post-resolution attempts to pull soaking players off the platform towards the boss's model. This mechanic is an excellent use case for immunities, Warlock Gateway, and raid movement utility. Note that at least 3 players must soak Webreev or trigger an instant wipe. The boss deals heavy raid damage during Erosive Spray, which stacks a hard-hitting dot on all players called Lingering Erosion. This and Spinneret Strands breaks are the main sources of incoming damage in this encounter. Periodically, the boss targets 5 players with a 5-yard radius indicator. 2 seconds after targets are selected, they will explode in that radius and spawn adds. You will want to avoid cleaving these explosions. These adds bite the targeted player, applying a 6-second duration nature dot that also reduces movement speed on heroic difficulty and higher. The adds then fixate a new target and will bite them and apply the same debuff if range allows. As mentioned previously, when Rasha'nan reaches maximum energy about every 90 seconds, she will fly away and perch in a new area of the arena and begin to cast Acidic Eruption. If the cast is allowed to resolve, the raid will take about half their HP in damage and take 50% more damage from Acidic Eruption forever. The boss will keep casting Acidic Eruption until interrupted. After being kicked, she will return to her normal rotation of abilities in the new area. After a successful cast of this ability, the boss also becomes immune to all damage for 9 seconds. This should never occur, and it should be a priority for every player with an interrupt. While Rolling Acid turns sticky webs into acid pools, Erosive Spray and Caustic Hail also cause acid pools to spawn around players. She casts Caustic Hail whenever she flies away to a new area, essentially completely covering the old play space and making it challenging for players to navigate to her new position. This is an excellent place to use raid movement utility. Note that a player must be in melee range of the boss at all times outside of a small grace period while she flies away and casts Acidic Eruption. If there are ever no players in her melee range, the whole raid will take damage and gain a stacking dot. This is notable for tank players as they will need to make sure they reach the boss before Acidic Eruption cast is interrupted to prevent a melee player taking a swing or triggering this raid damage. Finally, the tank mechanic is a bit different from your normal tank buster. She deals a large amount of physical damage and a small amount of magic damage in a single hit to her current aggro target. This attack applies a dot called Savage Wound. The damage of this dot is calculated as 90% of the unmitigated damage from the initial hit. To counteract this mechanic, you will want to ensure you are mitigating enough damage to make the resulting dot comfortable. Note that this effect stacks, and as a result, you'll want to swap for every cast. For strategy, you'll want to have positional conventions for Spinneret Strands, Infested Spawns, and Webreev. A 4-corner strategy could make the most sense for Spinneret Strands, or 4 behind the group. For infested spawns and Webreev, you can designate specific areas. In Webreev's case, it is likely in the line of a pre-placed gateway. Generally, you will want the raid stacked in front of the boss to make it easier for players to move out with mechanics. As always, we'd like to include a reminder that this guide's based on data and observation gathered from pre-release testing environments. Please note that the information provided may not fully reflect the final state of the raid encounter, as adjustments and changes can occur before the official release. Use this guide as a reference, but be prepared for potential differences in mechanics, tuning, and strategies when the raid goes live. Any significant changes will be noted in the description of this video. With that, we very much hope you found this guide useful. Please feel free to leave feedback or commentary below, and make sure to keep your eye on this channel as more guides are going to be coming out soon. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one.